And the assumption is there's no such thing as in between. Every move that you make, just sitting down eating a plate of food, when you eat that plate of food, whatever is on that plate, once you put it in your body, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Or if you inhale smoke or vapors of some type, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Now, how do you know the difference between the two? By the effect. That's what you look for. What is the effect? If you say something to someone, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. And that's it, put in simple terms.
Okay.
And everyone on the planet, right this minute, should make up his or her mind according to the code, the compensatory counter-racist. And the assumption is there's no such thing as in between. Every move that you make, just sitting down eating a plate of food, when you eat that plate of food, whatever is on that plate, once you put it in your body, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Or if you inhale smoke or vapors of some type, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Now, how do you know the difference between the two? By the effect. That's what you look for. What is the effect? If you say something to someone, it's going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. And that's it, put in simple terms.
Okay.
And everyone on the planet, right this minute, should make up his or her mind according to the code, crib, and say, well, there's no way I can get out of this crib without hurting myself, and I'm confined to the crib. I'll do the most constructive thing that I can with what I have. See, you only can use what you have, what is available to you. And you use what you have that's available to you to try to get more things available to you by thinking. That's what the mind is for.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to come up with some type of ingenuity, which is what a baby does on a crib. Many babies do it. They try to figure out, well, the first thing I have to do is learn how to get stronger in this crib, get bigger, so that I can do what I see between the rails on the side of this crib, which is something like a jail, because that's how the baby sees it after a while. Not right away, but after a while. I'm born in jail. I mean, I'm in a crib. I would like to be out there. I see people doing things like moving around outside of here. I see some creatures. I see something moving around. A cat, something that I later find out is a person. Mm-hmm. Maybe my mother, my father, different things, pots and pans. See, a baby is learning. So you use what you learn to do the most constructive thing from where you are and try to do what? Grow. So you find, since you are growing all the time, and if your mind is alert, your mind should be growing. Just don't stay in that baby state. Like in the system of racism, the white supremacists try to have black people remain in the baby state.
Yes.
So we even call ourselves in the old days, hey, baby, hey, babe, because we were trained that way.
Yes.
Stay in a helpless state where you're always in a begging type mode, mm-hmm. or in a very non-constructive situation, because as you get bigger, you start moving around and knocking things over if you don't pay attention to where you're going or what you're doing. And then the white supremacists blame you for knocking things over because you're still in a baby state, mm-hmm. in a primitive state, all right, which is what the system of racism is designed to do to people of color, keep them in a primitive state, prime stage of progress.
Yes.
So that's what constructive and non-constructive is all about. Try to do the most constructive thing where you are.
Okay. All right, Brother Mitro from so-called French Guiana. I hope that satisfies your question. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. And here's a few that I will read to you. Wiggins World with Stacey Wiggins, All in the Family with S. Yolanda Robinson, and This is Libby. Now, all of these programs are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com. And all you have to do, if you want to inquire about these programs, is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on programs and give a sample listen to the programs that may be of interest to you. And if you like it, then, you can listen to it and make that become regular, as you do with the program here, The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. So go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, click on programs, and you are there. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And today's topic is constructive. We're going to talk about constructive. Received an email from Brother Burton. And Brother Burton, usually we don't do this, but because the subject of constructive came up, the staff forwarded this right to me, and this is what it says. This is Brother Burton, Mr. Fuller. He says, my dilemma is in dealing with old friends and some family members who don't get why I choose not to go out with them all the time. Right now, I have about 20 different projects working in. I have a home I'm trying to finish building, a car to work on, hundreds of old documents to shred and organize, and painting, and I'm still trying to finish. But in the midst of all this, these friends and family will try and tie my time on the phone, and then ask me at the end of it about going out for lunch, dinner, a concert, or wedding. Some will call me several times a day about going out, and I tell them I don't have time. I'm busy. They think I'm rejecting them, thinking I don't know how to have fun. But like you've taught us, Mr. Fuller, we should be about solving problems and asking ourselves, is going out for lunch after being on the phone for several hours to talk some more is constructive or good use of time? I conclude, Mr. Fuller, that it's not. I choose to be alone and use my time wisely and not bother other people in hopes that they can solve whatever problems they have in front of them. So, Mr. Fuller, can you reiterate to me and to the people who are listening about the importance of using as much of the time we have available to be productive and constructive and not to tie up other people's time or even our own from finishing work and solving problems? Thank you, Mr. Burton.
Right. Well, it depends on. See, people say, "Well, we're going out, and we'd like for you to come with us when we go out." Okay, O-U-T. So just pay attention to words. What you're being asked to do. Go out. Go out, meaning I'm already in. I guess. Am I in, or am I out when I'm in? What do you mean by going out? Going out where? In order to do what? See, all problems, according to the code, are solved by what? Questions and answers.
Uh-huh.
So you just simply ask a series of questions. All right? And so that gets to the, like in the code book, it says you can always go to this anytime you're faced with any kind of problem, because it usually has something that somebody wants. And it's just 4 questions asked when it comes to that word, W-A-N-T, want. Everybody wants to do something. Every minute of every day, every creature wants to do something. Mm-hmm. Every spider, every alligator, every elephant, every fly, every bird, every person wants to do something when they're awake. Even if it's no more than just get up from one chair and walk across the room and sit in another chair. All right, so it comes down to questions. all right, what do you want to do? Well, I want to go out. Okay. You want to go out, and anything else that you want? Well, I want you to go out with me, or to meet me after we go out. Okay. Go out where? Out from where you are and come in to where we're going to be. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go out from where I am, wherever that is, and I'm going to go in another place. That's what you want? Yeah, that's what I want you to do. I want you to leave where you are and come where I am. Okay, that's coming out from being in and going to another place where you'll be going in, and that way you'll be out from where you were before. Okay? Okay. So far, so good. Okay? I'm just saying this is what you're being asked to do.
Yes. By
someone who has this phenomenal idea. All right? It's going to be, hey, this is going to be, hey, I got a reason for doing all this. Okay. So, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do it?
Yes.
Why do you want me to do it? You're fixing to go out. You're already in, I guess, somewhere. You're going to go out from wherever you are in and go into another place so you won't be out from that place that you're going to. All right. Now that's understanding. And you want me to be there too. Is that correct? Yes, that's where we want you to be. Right there with us. Okay, us meaning room. Oh, a whole bunch of other people. A whole bunch of other people of what kind doing what. Okay? Well, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other. You'll find out when you get there. All right? But see, you can just simply ask a question. What are these people that you're going to leave where you're in and go out, and then you're going into another place, I guess you're going to go from out to in.
To do what?
and why are we doing all this? You know what I mean? That's a real key word. That's the second one. What do you want me to do? I want you to leave where you are and go out.
Okay.
All right, with us. Then, why do you want me to do this? Oh, well, I want you to be where we are. Okay. All right, so far so good. I'm going to be where you are with some other people who have left wherever they were to come out. Okay. O-U-T, that's a real big thing, going out. Okay. Now, we're into a place that we went out from when we left the place where we were.
Yes.
Okay. Mathematically, just add this up, see where it's going. Okay. Now, you're here. Okay, now, why are we here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What do you want me to do? Why do you want me to do it? How do you plan for me to do it? Well, we're going to pick you up. We're going to make everything real easy for you. We're going to send a limousine, whatever. Or you get here on your own, because it's really going to be a real constructive payoff, since we're talking about constructive. Once you get here, oh boy, are you going to be glad that you were here. Otherwise, what's the point in coming? All right? That's a logical question.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not glad that you're here, something phenomenal happened. You stepped into a situation where the whole world changed. For the better. Okay, all right. Why do you want me to do it? How do you plan for me to do it? And here is the fourth question in those 4 wants. And that is, what do you expect the constructive result to be? Now, page 71 in the textbook for victims of racism, it has these 4 wants in it. And these are very important. One of the most important things in the entire book. Because everybody wants to do something.
Yes.
Or wants you to do something. Or wants you to participate in something that they are doing. Okay? But they should be able to, with razor-sharp precision, tell you what the result is going to be. That 4th question. What is going to be the constructive result of this going out and then going in after I've left my in to go into to go out and then go into where you're going into. Because when you're out, the only thing you can do once you're out is go in. Okay, once you're out. Or when you're out, the only thing you can do is go in.
Page 71?
But that's page 71,
okay.
The 4 wants. But it has to do with something that people want you to do. All right? And the question is raised now, should you want to do what they want you to do? And what is going to be the constructive result? That's the bottom line.
Yes.
What's going to be the constructive? That's all you got to do is just ask them. You know, after I spend several hours or several days going on this trip, this cruise, whatever it is, what's going to be the constructive result compared to the constructive results that I'm already getting? All right? And if they're not constructive, just point out to me how they're not constructive.
Yes.
And I'll go with you on your cruise or wherever it is, and I'll just drop what I'm doing. But from now on, here's what. I'll make a deal with you. If I go out from where I'm in already and get with you, will you take care of whatever problems come up from whatever I just left? Will you handle all of these problems, you and your associates who are now telling me to come out and be into something that you're in, and, you know, because I may be leaving behind a lot of things that if I'm not there, there will be problems. So are you and your associates, all of these wonderful people you want me to shake hands with and hug and, and do, have a banquet with or whatever it is you're calling me out for, are they going to take care of these problems that might evolve while I am OUT?
Wow.
And just ask them.
Yes.
Right, And if they say, oh, yeah, if you, leave your businesses and all like that, and whomever you're going to leave and whatnot, I mean, hey, we'll take care of all that. I mean, because what we are going to turn you on to is going to be so out of sight. You'll say, you don't even see no sense in doing what you're doing. All right? And get with us and do what we're doing forever, because we'll cover it. And we got everything covered. We have thought of everything. We are wonderful people. We wouldn't do nothing that we thought may be of any harm to you directly or indirectly. We're going to give you a whole new dimension in life if you would just do what? Come out of where you are and come in to where we are. Because, boy, we got it all about being where you need to be.
Wow. Wow, okay.
Now, if they make you that kind of offer, that's an offer you shouldn't refuse.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's got a whole bunch of question marks associated with, tell them just that, just what I just said. Hey, fellas, ladies, everybody, it looks like there's a lot of question marks that are not being answered. All right? But I got the questions. And if you all can provide the answers, like what I just laid out,
yes, sir,
then it's a go. I will come out from where I'm in. Otherwise, I got some more questions.
Yes, that's the key, asking the questions that need.
Yeah, if you all can take care of all of my business and all like that, hey, I'll be out with you all the time. I mean, if I can come back to what I'm taking care of, and everything is double in benefits, triple, quadruple. Why? Because you covered all that.
Yes, sir.
While I'm out.
Okay.
With you all.
TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. Podcasts are available. That's radio the way it should be heard. Now, stay right there. We have a person on the line, phone calls, and we have a couple of Gmails that we're going to get to. And more. Don't forget to donate. All that and more coming up next on TalkTameItRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. All righty. TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And today being Wednesday, May the 15th, 2019, we are speaking about constructive. Mr. Fuller has mentioned that on every program, including today. And this is what our focus is today on constructive. Don't forget to donate. If you love this program and you feel that it's worth it, then you need to hit the donate button, which more will be said about that. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, line 1, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning. Can I be heard?
What is your question, sir?
Thank you. I have a statement and then 2 questions for Mr. Fuller. One thing that, yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Make it quickly, though.
It will be very quickly, and I believe it will be constructive. Mr. Fuller has often stated that white people can help black people by sharing constructive information and not being deceptive. I heard a white woman, suspected racist, who black people would call an ally, named Dr. Jacqueline Badalore, speaking on a relationship she had with a black male in the past. And she stated something that I think was very interesting. She stated that when she was in this black male, she was in a sexual relationship with this black male, she said she could not understand as a white person why she could love this black person but not want justice for all black people. And I found that very interesting. And what I wanted Mr. Fuller, I think it would be very constructive if Mr. Fuller could also explain his definition of justice and love to the callers. And then I have another question.
Mr. Fuller?
Justice means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. Underline no person. Justice means guaranteeing. You can underline guarantee that no person is mistreated. That's part 1. The other part of the definition for justice, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. In other words, when you interact with any person, all of those interactions should have a constructive result. Otherwise, you don't have any business interacting with anybody, anytime on the planet. You know, people who are about doing non-constructive things shouldn't be in contact with anybody. Do your non-constructive things somewhere off in the desert, off in the woods somewhere on your own. I mean, and even then, you're supposed to be constructive, but you're dedicated to being non-constructive. You shouldn't be in contact with anybody. And that's what they do with people when they lock them up. They break off contact with the people that they're usually in contact with. That's what that's all about. Why? Because you're doing non-constructive things, or you're being accused of it anyway. And so that's what that's all about. But really, in nature, in the universal order of things itself, any person who wakes up in the morning thinking about doing something non-constructive, nobody should be anywhere around you. People should see you coming and run. Get away from you, as far away from you as you can. Why? Because you're about nothing but something non-constructive. And that will apply to a whole bunch of people who are out here that you pass on the sidewalk every day. They don't need to be in contact with anybody. They're looking for contact. Why? So they can do non-constructive things. But if you're not in contact with people, you know, who you can do non-constructive things with, you're going to be non-constructive with yourself, which is exactly where you need to be if you're a non-constructive person. If you think that way about doing harm to people and not being able and not being willing to do everything that you can to help the person that needs help the most. If you're not about those 2 things, you don't have any business in contact with birds or bees or nothing else.
Okay. What's your second question, sir?
Thank you. Mr. Fuller, the system of white supremacy and white supremacists have allowed black people to use what's quote-unquote called technology. Even what this show is being broadcasted on, things like YouTube or Facebook, and things of that nature. What I've consistently noticed is that when black people specifically get a hold of using this technology, in the beginning, it can start off very constructive, but a lot of times it turns into name calling, and it becomes it gets tacky, and we lose sight of ending the system of white supremacy. What are things that we as black people can do, specifically individuals, that are codified, so when we use these particular devices or technology to where we can stay on code and make sure that we're focused on ending the system of white supremacy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Fuller?
The minute an argument starts, one thing, starting with this very moment all over the world, there should never, under any circumstance, be an argument that involves a non-white person in this system of white supremacy. That's one of the first things and the most important things to eliminate. See, we can do, these are things we can do. No arguments, conversations, but no arguments. Now, what's the difference between a conversation and an argument? An argument is designed to win arguments. That's when most people just want to win an argument. They don't want to do anything. They don't want a constructive result. They just want to win an argument. They don't care what the results are. Okay? And that makes for a whole bunch of trouble. A conversation is when you don't concentrate on the person. You concentrate on what needs to be done that will solve the problem. Because all conversations between non-white people in the system of white supremacy should be about problem solving, underline, problem solving, never about problem making. Arguments make for more problems. For instance, what the caller said, name calling. You don't call anybody a name except the name that the person wants to be called.
Exactly.
Now, once people start name calling in a conversation, what you have right there is an argument.
Yes, sir.
So the minute that starts, the code says, you say, I will talk to you at some other time. Ladies and gentlemen, always be polite, always be courteous, and say, ladies and gentlemen. Once the argument starts, once the conversation turns into an argument, name calling is a sign of an argument. So once that starts, you say, well, I'll tell you what, out of all due regard, I will talk to you at some other time. Now, that's just how you say it, those exact words. Ladies and gentlemen, or whomever it is, Jack, or Wilson, or Helen, or Geraldine, or whomever it is,
yeah.
whatever word, whatever name that they want to be called by, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I will talk to you at some other time, and then you immediately break contact.
Be courteous.
Yes, but you do it courteously.
Yes, sir.
All right, regardless of how they're storming and cursing and whatnot, using profanity, like a lot of people are prone to do.
Yes.
Whatnot, I will talk to you at some other time. And what do you mean by that? Because you should want to talk to them at some other time. You know, just give your opinion on this and opinion of that, and a person should thank you for your opinion and then give their opinion. Everybody just give their opinion in order to do what? Come up with the most constructive way to do what? Solve a problem.
Yes.
Because you shouldn't be talking to anybody anyway in a world full of problems, unless it's about problem solving.
Yes, I've noticed that, even in my personal life, to strive for universal balance. Whatever it is, just be balanced with that. And like last week, there was one thing that you said that was just outstanding when a caller asked you about something that Minister Farrakhan had said. And he asked it twice, but your response was the same. You said last week, concerning whatever Mr. Farrakhan had said, you said, according to the code, he said what he said.
Yes, and don't say anything else. If anybody, if victims of racism, see, we are walking around in a prison yard. We're all prisoners of war. So if you ask me anything about a fellow prisoner, I mean, and you have me as your prisoner of war, I mean, directly, indirectly, and you ask me a question about a fellow prisoner and what that prisoner did or said, I'll just say, well, he said what he said.
Or did what he did.
Or did what he did.
Okay, I got you.
Right. And if you want a further explanation or conversation about what that person did or said, go talk to the person.
Yes, yes.
Yes, why are you asking me? I'm not in charge of anything. I'm not in charge of, Reverend so-and-so or Minister so-and-so or Jack and Jill or any. I'm a prisoner of war. What are you asking me for? I mean, you don't ask me my opinion of how much money I need from you. All right?
Yeah.
But you come to me to ask me about somebody, over yonder, or what they said on television or something like that. That's not what? That's not constructive, since we're talking about constructive now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And it's not logical.
Okay.
Because everything that is constructive is logical.
Yes, sir. Yes,
what
sir.
are you asking me for, sir? Go find out yourself, and the best way to find out about anything that a person said is go talk to the person that said it.
Right, right.
That's logical.
She said what she
that
said.
That makes more sense, right.
Yeah.
I mean, come and ask me about what some black congressperson said up on Capitol Hill yesterday. What do you think about that? I think they said what they said.
Yes.
Or do you know the details of what they said? I don't have to know the details of what they said, but I think they said what they said.
They're staying on code when you do that.
Yes,
Is that
that's
correct?
what code calls for.
Yes.
You just keep saying that. Now, if you want to know more about what they said and what they meant by what they said and all like that, why don't you go ask the person that said it?
That's logical.
That's logical and that's constructive. Why are you involving me when I'm not in charge of nothing?
Very good answer.
Now, then you can also ask that person, if the person is white, they're asking you about a black person, you'll say, what do you think, sir or ma'am, about what that person said?
Okay.
Because what you say is more important than what I'll ever say. I'm a prisoner of war.
Wow. Let's do this Gmail here. It says, Mr. Fuller, why do black people seem to hate each other more than we hate our oppressors at times? Does mistreatment from another black person feel just as hurtful or worse than mistreatment from white supremacists while under this system? Do we suffer from a mass amplified feeling of betrayal and mistrust toward one another? And
that's obvious.
Yes.
The answer is yes to all of the above. And it's logical that we would be. Prisoners of war, always think of it, milling around in a prison yard. You're looking at each other. You're all wearing the same uniform, meaning your skin color. That's your uniform. Of a prisoner of war on planet Earth in 2019, if you're a person of color, classified as non-white, black, brown, red, yellow, beige, tan, etc., something non-white, you are a prisoner of war. You were born in prison. The name of that prison is the system of white supremacy, in capital letters, and/or racism. So, prisoners have a tendency to do what? If you ever study what they call prison life, spend all their time doing what? Something that under those conditions you can expect to happen. Picking at each other. Whom else is there? Who is available to pick on? They're not even in touch with the warden. The warden just looks down from his or her ivory tower, all right, and throws them some crumbs, and they all get to fighting about the crumbs. That's the way a prison is set up. So when you think of it as a prison, it all makes sense. That's the way it is. If you think of the entire planet as a prison, everybody, people in boats and whatnot, trying to do what? Just like Andy Dufresne in the movie Shawshank Redemption, trying to get to the warden's office. Why? Why are you trying to get to the warden's office? Because it's more comfortable in there. The warden is in there. He's going to be in comfortable circumstances. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And second, the last part of that question, the person said this, says, if another black person mistreats me in order to help themselves and gain favor with white supremacists, should I turn the other cheek or go eye for an eye?
No. you try to defend yourself against anyone who does you direct harm. All right? But at the same time, you don't retaliate and lash out because and try to say what you're going to call get even. No, you just stop the aggression. Once you stop the aggression, then you back off, and that's what I mean by minimizing conflict, just like in a prison yard.
Yes, sir.
By minimizing contact. All right? If you don't have contact with that person, that's why sometimes in a prison system, you can request, hey, I want another cell. Why? Because my cellmate ain't no constructive mate. All right? My cellmate takes my food away from me or whatever I get and keeps changing the channel on the television and all like that. So I want somebody who's more cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you have to always, sometimes, because that's the way the prison system of white supremacy is set up, you might have to go to the prison masters and make that request because you are in a prison. You can't just do it yourself. But if you're allowed to do it yourself, you know, you're the type of prison that they have set up for you where you can move away from that type of aggression, like certain neighborhoods. Black people say every day, they're saying it somewhere right now, I got to get out of here. Why? On account of my own people. What I call my own people, really, they're not your people. Mm-hmm. You don't own any people. That's another expression that the code says you never use. Mm-hmm. Our people. You don't have any people. You don't have nothing. You don't even have yourself. If you're a black person or a non-white person on planet Earth in 2019, you do not even have yourself. You don't have a family. You don't have a job that you can call your own.
Yes, sir.
You don't have a business that you can call your own, because that flies in the face of what? Of the truth. Because the truth is, every move you make is subject to the power of the system of white supremacy.
Right. Okay, how about this? TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Download TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. Now that's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. But it is at this time, very important time, that we have Mr. Fuller talk about his book, how you can purchase it, and all the other pertinent information. Mr. Fuller, go ahead, please.
You can go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Produce, Produce, producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook and an additional volume to the basic textbook called the Counter-Racist Word Guide. How you use words, how you don't use words. What questions asked, really important. When other people use words. When somebody else talks about love or justice, ask, that's a word that's kicked around a lot. Ask that person, what exactly is love? What are the characteristics of it? All right? According to you. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's got their own idea about what love is. Some people call sexual intercourse love. Why? Because they say, well, did you make love? And you say, what do you mean, make love? You know, how do you make love out of some, you know, oak wood or what, you know? Well, I mean, did you have sexual intercourse? Well, why did you ask me that? Why didn't you say, did you have sexual intercourse? Not making love. I mean, what are you talking about? Everybody got their own idea about love. See what I mean? Be specific. So the Counter-Racist Code Book, the Word Guide, is about being very, very surgical, precision with words, and sometimes politely ask people when they're using certain words. We say, well, we'll slow down just a minute and explain exactly what you mean by those last 8 words in that paragraph that you just said, and the first 10 words or the, intermittent words. Just pick out certain words in a paragraph when people are talking, because most people just ramble. They just say anything, any kind of old way, without explaining in detail what each one of those words mean. And in dealing with a white supremacist, that is the way to go, for sure. Ask a lot of questions. You may spend as much as 2 months on the definition of one word. Say, I still don't know what you're talking about, because it's not logical to me. It's not making sense, sir. All right? Is there any way that you can tell me, again, using other words, exactly what you meant by this one word? Some real, what you might call astute or learned or successful lawyers do this all the time. They'll say, wait a minute, hold it, Your Honor. Can I ask a question about what he just said, about that one word? Because we might spend another 4 or 5 court sessions on that one word, because that word is loaded, all right, with all kinds of things. I mean, it can go all kinds of ways. I don't know what you're talking about, in other words, all right? In other words, I don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. See, so getting back to the point, go to producejustice.com. You might just want the basic book, and you might want both books, the basic book and the word guide. Go to producejustice.com.
All righty. Go to producejustice.com. When we look at that word, constructive, it is very, do you feel, Mr. Fuller, that it is very important that we stay focused on the task to be universally balanced in everything that we do?
Yes, but in order to do that in simple words, getting back to words again, because when we say being balanced, what does that mean?
Yes.
Somebody will ask. All right, I used to use that term. Justice means balance between people. But I said, that's inadequate. Balance between people, what do you mean by balance? All right? So then I tried to be more specific, and I came up with this definition of justice, because I didn't like any of them that I saw in any of the books that I looked at, dictionaries, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to invent a definition for the word justice, and I think it will hold up until somebody comes up with one better. Then I will take that one.
So a compensatory term, then.
Justice means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated in any circumstance that you're in.
Yes.
You've got to guarantee that. Otherwise, you don't have justice. That's number one. And number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Also, the word love and the word justice have the same definition.
Okay.
According to what? According to logic.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, guaranteeing. Love means guaranteeing nobody's mistreated. That's love.
Yes.
And number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. That's love. So, you just say, I thought love was getting in bed and getting it on, and and I thought love was how many high fives you can give your homie.
Okay.
Or how many hugs you can give somebody.
Okay.
Or how many smiles you can give. That's love. No, that's nowhere in the neighborhood.
Well,
that's just a whole lot of drama.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. A few shows back, you mentioned it, and we both had a chuckle on it, and of course, you told me about this song that I had to look up and found out that the song did actually and does actually exist. I think it was, I Told You That I Love You, But Now Get Out.
Yes.
Well,
that's the song that came out in the 1930s or 40s,
yeah.
I think.
Well, if a person...
I told you that I loved you, now get out. See, the white supremacists are good at that. Oh, you black people want some love? Oh, okay, hey, bring a ton of love in here. Dump it on you. I mean, how much love do you need? Love, write it all over the walls. So you'll say that you're going to a place where there's lots of love. Mm-hmm. When you walk in this building, we got all kinds of beautiful signs by the best artists in the world. And it says, each one of these artists that we have picked, They're very carefully crafted over all of the walls and the ceilings and down corridors and down in the basement and all inside of the oven and whatnot. We got that word Love. Oh, aren't you people enchanted by this? And don't say I don't love you. Just look at all of these signs. I mean, whoa.
Yeah.
Come on in and take a look. Line up. Take the day off from your job. Give up your income and whatnot. And come and look at all the love that I got for you. I mean, and when you walk out of the exit door, you'll just be groggy from all of those wonderful signs. I mean, with all the love that I poured on you. You all this love. I mean, I got it. Man, I got warehouses full of it. All right? I told you that I love you. Now, get out.
Get out. Okay, well then how is that? If love and justice are the same, how is that? I mean, what is that?
That's what I mean.
I love you.
We haven't given a correct definition for love.
Yeah.
Love and justice are the absolute same,
yes, sir,
according to the code.
Yes, sir.
In definition. And you never define it outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Love means guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
So logically speaking, I told you that I love you, now get out is not true.
Absolutely. That doesn't make sense at all. I mean, many a person has stood before a judge and say, well, Judge, you don't understand. I killed her because I loved her. Stop and think about that.
Yeah.
What do you do with people that you hate?
Yeah, what do you do?
You use old ghetto language. No, you jiving. I mean, you killed her because you loved her.
Yeah.
Get out of my court. Go somewhere and hide in a jail forever.
Yeah, what you just said makes logical sense. But like you said before, they have trained us to think illogically.
Oh, we don't. We are not on. We don't. We are the most illogical people on the planet. That's why we're in the shape that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use logic. The white supremacists, in order to get back to this thing about constructive, they don't want to see any black person doing anything of constructive value. Turn on your television. As long as you're doing something that is sophisticated but stupid, see, because they got this neon stupidity now. That's what I call it.
Uh-huh.
I coined the term just in the last program, I think.
Okay.
Neon. I mean, it's all glittery and all like that.
Yes.
But if you back up and look at it and ask the question, is this constructive? And if it is, how?
How? Exactly.
And usually it's a whole bunch of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
Mass stupidity. But it's all well-financed. I mean, they dump money into this stupidity like you wouldn't believe.
Yes, sir.
Which they will do. The white supremacists are going all over the world now as we speak. And anywhere you find non-white people trying to wake themselves up and be serious about serious things,
mm-hmm,
they push them back into something that is totally stupid.
Yes, sir.
And they finance it to the nth degree. In fact, they ask them, how much money do you want?
Okay.
Well, you people never had money, so I'll dump money on you. I got tons of it.
Okay, well, with that one, we'll have to conclude the first hour. Talk to him at radio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Stay tuned for the second hour, the donate hour, here on Talk to him at radio.com. All righty, welcome to the second hour of Compensatory Concept. Talk to him at radio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Our subject today is constructive. Mr. Fuller uses this word. Every program that I've been in contact with Mr. Fuller and have been doing it, and someone from the continent or place called French Guiana wanted to know about this term. So we've spent the first hour, or Mr. Fuller has spent the first hour dissecting what it means to be constructive. If you haven't heard that, then you may want to hear that first hour. It's very informative. Okay, to call in, you can 1-877-932-9766. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Let's see here. Oh, and don't forget this. This is our donate hour. We really do need your donations. Mr. Fuller and myself are not compensated in no way, shape, or fashion, for the donations. They go strictly to the second hour. And if this second hour really means that much to you, then slip something in the mail, or even you can go to the talkteam@radio.com homepage, and there is a gold donate button. Just do that, whatever you feel that you want to contribute to the program, so we can continue to do that. Okay, constructivism. Okay, Mr. Fuller, we got a Gmail from Naomi, and she's has written scatter sexuality. She says, "Greeting, Mr. Fuller. I'm just curious to know if you, Mr. Fuller, have heard of the term spectral philia. Now, according to Wikipedia, spectral philia is sexual attraction to ghost or sexual arousal from images in mirrors, as well as the alleged phenomenon of sexual encounters between ghosts and humans. Spectral philiacs fantasize about ghosts and often imagine scenarios involving sexual events between themselves or others and spirits. I have noticed how this concept has crept into the television shows lately," and she mentions a few, and I'm not going to do that. She said, "I also just read a Newsweek article in which a British woman claims to have had over 20 sexual experiences with ghosts, and she's loving it." And then she gave a site for that, which I'm not going to give on this air. She said, "This is not something that I recommend to black people, as it would bring us deeper into spiritual bondage and won't help us produce the justice we so desperately need." Thank you for listening, Mr. Fuller. Could you comment on this, please?
Well, I have said for years, and I have it in the textbook, I came up with maybe 50, I forgot the number, 50, 75 possible forms of what the white supremacists are likely to call forms of sexuality. I just came up with them: canine sex, bovine sex. I mean, just on and on and on. If you just use your imagination, and I think that's what the white supremacists are really doing. They're just going all over the world among non-white people, saying, "Hey, that thing about male and female, I mean, you people are so backward. You're so backward. I mean, you're pitiful. I mean, what you really need, you're talking about housing and better education and better food and clean water. What you people really need, forget about all of that. We'll get to that later. All right? Education, health care, clean water, a clean mind, a constructive activity, being able to do something on your own without us supervising you and whatnot. Just put this on the shelf for a while. I got something that you people, all you dark-skinned people throughout the world, really need right now. We can get to the other things later. You might need these things. I'm not going to deny you that. This is really what they're saying. But I got something that you need right now. So all you dark-skinned people need to drop what you're doing and get on these new forms of sexuality so you can come up to date, because you're so backward. Just talking about males with females, that's so old-fashioned. That's ancient. People have been doing that for millions of years, maybe. It's okay. We're not knocking it. I mean, but You need to be more variety. That's what you need. So, hey, we got some ghosts out here. I mean, you need to, ghosts need sexuality. They need love. See, that's the banner that they're putting all of this new forms, hundreds of them, new forms of sexuality, mostly for non-white people, and they putting it under the banner of what? Just that four-letter word, L-O-V-E. They say, hey, ghosts need love. What are you people doing? You going to neglect the ghosts? I mean, you're talking about getting land in Zimbabwe and whatnot. And, hey, you don't need that. Land is here. I mean, you don't have to worry about that. We'll get to that later. Right now, what you need to do is go and have sex with whatever you see in the mirror there or whatever, I'll show you how to do it. I mean, if you haven't. Run into any complications, consult me. I mean, I got the rainbow thing all together. I got that locked up, I'll tell you what to do and what not to do, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. That's exactly what they're doing. And they're grabbing the most intelligent black people and saying, now, doesn't that make sense to you? Shouldn't this be a priority? They're telling all the college professors this and everything, going into all the institutions where black people are trying to, stop the shooting, stop the hunger, stop the disease, and say, hey, we can get to this anytime. That's old stuff.
Yes.
What you all need, what you dark-skinned people really need is new forms, innovative forms, new ingenuity-type forms of sexuality. Don't be so backward. You're so primitive. I mean, it's disgraceful the way that you think. You need more forms of sexuality. All right? And everything else will be added unto you. And then they will finance it. If you sign on and say, well, yeah, it looks like, scratching our heads like we usually do, the head-scratching Negro.
Yes.
Well, it looks like everybody's saying it must be right, real intelligent people coming around, all these people with PhDs, all these white folks, and they putting their arms around me and say, you need more forms of sexuality.
Wow.
You need, so what kind of forms? Well, I got about 17 types that you can start off with. All right. They're actually doing this.
Yes, they are.
And doing it with a straight face, or sometimes not a straight face. They're laughing at us while they're telling us.
Yes.
We're thinking that we're just that dumb. And from the record that's shown so far, we are.
Yes.
We are proven to be just that dumb.
Yeah.
They are dumping all of this stuff on us, talking about this is all in the name of constructive activity and in the name of when we start questioning it, say, hey, you don't want to tamper with love, do you? All right, you people are against love?
Yes.
I mean, don't you need love?
No, I
don't you need that image?
Ooh.
I mean, that image in the mirror when you stand in front of the mirror naked. Figure out a way to make sex out of that. I mean, so that you can go F yourself.
Wow.
All right?
There was an article on Facebook, very disturbing article to me, but they had the faces of 3 white men that were arrested, Mr. Fuller, for having sexual intercourse with female horses and other farm animals. And they gave their names and showed their faces. I believe it was in Pennsylvania, and I just thought it was very disturbing. I don't know if it was a new kind of sex. And they took the phrase animal lovers or animal husbandry to a different level that I just found totally disgusting. This is not something that universal man or universal woman, would do. I don't understand it, but they did arrest these people. I guess it's a new kind of sex. So what is your comment on that?
My comment on it is they'll probably head for court 5 or 6 dozen times maybe, and then somebody's going to say, hey, we got all kinds of institutions for animals. People love their animals, sometimes more than they love their family members. This is all about what? Love, folks. So if you got, old Rex sitting over there looking sad in the corner, Rex is your bulldog, all right? You might want to do a bull job on your bulldog.
Oh, man.
Okay? All right? And the law says, why not? After all, it's all about what, folks? It's all about what? And they'll keep sticking that word in front of you. L-O-V-E. It's all about love. Haven't you heard of animal lovers? What's wrong with that? See, just a few decades ago, a male getting with a male and whatnot was saying, well, yeah, people do that. We got them in our family. You don't condemn people. You don't go out and beat them up for that and all like that. And even today, that should not be done.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir.
But is that the best quality? Does that top male with female? The white supremacists are now saying, yeah, that's better than any male or female thing ever. All right? Getting with Rex is better than that. After all, you don't have to worry about no babies or nothing like that. What's wrong with it? See, they're going to have all kinds of arguments in court. And they say it's all about what? Love. Eventually they'll do that. See, these are going to be, when they arrest people for this, it's going to be court cases. How come I can't marry my dog? My dog loves me better than anybody in my family. What's the matter with you people? My dog has given me more time, more devotion, has been more obedient than any wife that anybody ever had. And I can prove it. And you'll go to court and prove it. And walk out with your dog and your dildos and all like that. And get yourself photographed in front of the courthouse saying, we won another case, for liberation in sexuality. We are losing our cotton-picking minds wholesale.
Wow. Okay.
According to what? Neely Fuller? No. According to logic. According to logic. We need to be heading toward just getting that straight. We haven't even got male-female thing straight. It's just as ragged as it can be.
And now you're
all right.
Wow.
And now we got to get Rex involved.
This is from JJ from the projects. He said this, Mr. Fuller. He said, can you ask Mr. Fuller whether his parents understood his work and whether they agreed with him on the existence of white supremacy at least? And also, is Mr. Fuller aware of how difficult it is in this day and age to get black people to talk about racism? Mr. Fuller?
Oh, yes, but it's more difficult nowadays than it is in days before, because a lot of days before was right there in your face. Big sign up there saying, N-word, don't let the sun go down on you here, no sundown towns.
Right.
You got on a bus, it said rear seat for colored. I wish I had some photographs of me. I should have taken some.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Yes, yeah. I have been in uniform sitting under those signs.
What?
All right. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In 2 uniforms, Army and Air Force, both times. Going, to see, even in the Air Force uniform, going to see my mother, who was dying of cancer. All right. And standing up in the middle of the aisle because I couldn't sit and there's empty seats there, but it's the white section of the bus in Arkansas. All right? And everybody looking at me with total hostility.
With the uniform on?
Yes, because my uniform, really, other than the Air Force uniform, was what? The color of my skin. That, and forgive the pun, that trumps any kind of uniform.
Yeah.
The color of your skin, I don't care what kind of uniform you got on other than that. All right? The only thing that matches that is the prisoner of war uniform. All right? Is the color of your skin. But even then, the prisoner of war uniform is more valuable than you in that skin. Okay? They prove that. They'll save your prison uniform for somebody else to wear, and they'll bury you.
Yeah.
Okay? Why? Because you're the wrong color in the system of white supremacy. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah. Now, JJ wanted to know, he wanted to know, did your parents understand your work and whether they agreed with you on the existence of white supremacy?
I didn't start writing until long after my mother and father were dead. Okay. But they came up under it, had to put up with it, understood it. It was right there in your face every day.
That was back in Oklahoma, wasn't it?
Yes. I came up where people will call you that right to your face. That was your name, the N-word. Okay? So, and you think nothing of it. Why? Because it's so common. I mean, people make a big court case out of it nowadays. I mean, that was unheard of then.
Yes, sir.
They'll laugh you out of the court and call you that on your way out.
in the court?
I mean, if they wanted to, who's going to stop them? That's who you are. That's your badge of identification. That's identification. That's your ID. That's not name calling in the old days. I mean, what's wrong with that? That's what you are, you know.
Boy.
And according to the code, they're telling the truth. Because what is that N-word in truth? It just means victim of white supremacy. One who is subject to white supremacy. I don't care how dark you are. If you are no longer subject to white supremacy, you are not the N-word. As long as you are subject to white supremacy according to the code and according to logic, that's who you are. That's who I am right now. That's why it doesn't bother me when somebody calls me that, because they're really calling me what I really am.
Wow. Woo! Talk to him.
That's why it's important to get out from under the system.
Yes, sir.
The minute you're out from under the system of white supremacy, you are no longer the N-word. I don't care how many people call you that. That's not who you are.
Okay. TalkTameItRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's a few that I'm going to share with you. Conversation with Don Carina would be one. Stairway to Heaven will be another show. And Talking Sports Plus with Mr. Bobby. Now, all these shows are exclusive to the Talktainment Radio program family. And all you have to do is go to the Talktainment Radio .com homepage, and then click on programs, and there you have all the programs listed that we carry. And give yourself a sample. Just look at it and see if you like it or if you don't like it. That's the only way you're going to find out. So go to the homepage, TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, click on programs, and there you go. All that from TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our subject today is constructive, and Mr. Fuller's been addressing that. And with that in mind, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. Mr. Fuller, I wanted to ask you about when white people use the term white supremacy. I was walking past a white fellow the other day, and he held a sign up, and the sign said, "Impeach Trump." And I asked him, I said, what don't you like about him? I was just curious. And the guy said, well, one, he's a racist, and then he said, two, he's a white supremacist. And I never in person heard a white person call another white person a white supremacist. And I just stood there and smiled and nodded my head, but I didn't know quite how to handle that. So I just want your thoughts on that, about white people using the term white supremacist for other white people.
Yes, I've noticed that. So that's what I do about it. I just noticed it, that's all. Because a question is raised now, who is that doing the talking? Is that a white supremacist calling another white supremacist a white supremacist? That's the question. Who are you? You said that other white man is a white supremacist. Who are you?
That's a good point.
I mean, you know, that's if you're going to engage in that type of conversation. Okay? What qualifies a white person to be a white supremacist in a system of white supremacy? supremacy? That's a question that can apply, in a courtroom and should be. Is there anybody in here who's not a white supremacist? Or is there anybody in here who is a white supremacist? And that's two questions in one line. Everybody who is a white supremacist, hold up your hand. Everybody who isn't a white supremacist, remain seated. Okay. And then watch and see what the results are. And then, if you're going to proceed with it, the person who says he is a white supremacist, or she, have them explain what that means. Meaning what? What do you do? See, because it always comes down to not what you say you are, but what you actually do.
Okay.
Yes. That's even if a white person says to me, I believe in white supremacy. A lot of black people, of course it's against the code to react this way, get angry. Because the person said they believe in white supremacy. When the code requires me to say, can I ask you a question? And if the person says yes, what do you do as a white supremacist? What do you believe in doing? That involves me. Okay? So you got to be talking about something that involves me. Otherwise, why would I care? What do you do as a white supremacist when you are involved with me in all 9 areas of activity? That's what I want to know. I don't want to know what you are so much as I want to know what you're going to do.
What you're going to do, yeah.
And that's the approach that I say, according to the code, every black person should take. See, just don't fall apart at some words. Just ask for an explanation of what these words mean in an everyday situation from now on in your existence, and you just want to know what the person is going to do. D-O. That's a 2-letter word, very important.
Action.
Action, yes. That's the last part of that thought, speech, and action. Think, then speak, then act. So words mean a lot, but they don't mean a lot until something happens.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And so that's what you want to do. You want to know what a person is going to do, not what they say they believe in and what they used to do and all like that. That's nice to know, all right? But the only thing you really want to focus on as a black person in the system of white supremacy is not only what white people do, but what anybody does.
Okay.
What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what is the constructive result going to be? See, I just ask a white person, say, okay, you believe in white supremacy and you're going to interact with me. Is that correct? And the person says, yeah, I'm going to interact with you big time. All right? And I believe in white supremacy. Okay, what are you going to do when you interact with me? And if he gives out a list of really, really constructive things, and he just called himself a white supremacist, he says, I'm going to see to it you have a decent house, and I'm not going to penalize you. I mean, and you can speak up whenever you want to and say what you want to, about what you think ought to be corrected and whatnot, and I will do everything that I can to act on it, to see to it that it has a constructive result. And I said, but you just said that you're a white supremacist. He said, yeah, that's what I mean by white supremacy. I say, okay, I'm going to see if you're going to do what you said you're going to do. I don't care what you say you are. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
See,
yes, sir.
Don't get what they call spooked by the words. Look for the action.
Action.
Now, the words might tell you something. It alerts you, to put up your guard. It definitely should do that. But now when the person goes into detail about what they say they're going to do, and it turns out to have a constructive result, I don't care what you call yourself. If everything you do when you're around me is going to have a constructive result, it don't get no better than that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can call yourself anything,
Yeah.
Even if you want to call yourself Jesus, that's up to you. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I just want to know what you're going to do when I come around.
Okay.
Right.
Let's go to the Gmails. This is from Gwen. It's about forgiveness. She says this, Mr. Fuller. please, can you give your opinion, Mr. Fuller, on forgiveness in terms of forgiving the white supremacist racists? Would this have a constructive result? I ask your opinion on it because some people's religion requires it of them, forgiveness, and also because it is not in your word guide. Thank you, Gwen.
Right. Now, that's up to the person what forgiveness means. See, words supposed to have meaning, all right? So I don't ask anybody, really. You know, you're correct. That word's not in my word guide. I don't ask for forgiveness, for anything. Or if I did, it's because the person wanted that. And, forgiveness in what form? What do you mean, forgive? I'm forgiving, okay? For, F-O-R, and then giving. Well, what is it I'm going to give? What do you want me to give? See, have the word have some kind of meaning and be able to specify exactly what that meaning is. What does that mean? I'm forgiving. I'm very forgiving. Okay, you're very forgiving under what circumstances? About what? Are you forgiving about everything? And what does that mean in practical terms? Okay? You step up, on payday and pick up my check and say that you or me, and you do that every payday. Well, am I going to forgive you for that? And how many times? All right? Now we get into a quantification thing. I might let you do that twice, maybe once, or whatever, maybe none. Okay? But what do you mean? That's what I mean by words having meaning. Mm-hmm. When people use words, ask them, what exactly do you mean by that when it comes to what? What's that other two-letter word I keep talking about? Do.
Do.
Okay?
Action.
Yeah, what that action is. Always look for the action. There's all kinds of words being tossed around all the time. Love, justice, forgiveness, apologies, reparations, compensation. What does that mean when it comes to the action? Action. Well, I just want to tell you what I think. Okay. That's okay. You can tell me what you think. But I'm waiting on the action behind the thought. Is there any kind of action behind the thought? Oh, no, ain't going to be no action. You ain't going to get paid now, But I'll tell you what I'm thinking about you not getting paid. I'm really sorry for it. Man, I got sorry like you wouldn't believe. How many sorries do you want? I started reading The Art of War several times, and I gave up on it. That's my response. Because I simply couldn't understand the way some of the words were presented to me. That was just my lack of understanding. I'm quite sure that someone who can understand all the details of that should read it, because I understand it's been passed down for many a year, and that all military strategists and political strategists who have been successful have made themselves familiar with Sun Tzu's Art of War. So that's all I can say about it. But I started attempting to read it and understand it, because if I don't understand something while I'm reading it, I kind of have a tendency to put it aside, get back to it later when I'm at another level of understanding. And that's what I've done so far with The Art of War. I haven't gotten enough into it to make any kind of judgment at all. I'll just say what the code says about any position that a non-white person has anywhere on the planet here in 2019 is just a position in a prison. That black person is still a prisoner of war. Prisoner of war to whom? Every white person who is a white supremacist. We are in a war, and we are in captivity. So it doesn't make any difference about I'm given a trusteeship, you might say, in the prison, or I'm working in the warden's office. It just means I'm a prisoner of war working in the warden's office. That's all that it means. Yes, it means absolutely nothing else but that. And the code calls it what? Showcasing. Because the warden of a prison might say, now this is a model prisoner, all right? And the rest of you prisoners should be like this model. Because this prisoner works in my office, serving my purposes, all right, in your behalf. I'm going to tell you that right now. The reason I gave him or her this position, right sitting next to me, is so that he or she can look out for your interests. This is a prime position. Not everybody can work in my office, but this person works in my office, right there alongside me. Now, isn't that wonderful for you, the rest of you prisoners? Haven't I done something for you? But that's exactly the way you should look at it. Oh, okay. And you don't get angry with the prisoner, because you may be selected the next day, all right? And why do I say you shouldn't be angry with it and all like that? Because you're a prisoner of war. It's better to be in the warden's office, like Andy Dufresne was in Shawshank Redemption, than to be down there in the hole, in the cell. So if you are chosen, take the job. Take the job. That is not a stigma on you. You know, but everybody should understand that's just another prisoner of war in another prison position. All right? They eat better. They sleep better. All right? The warden says kind of things to them every now and then. And okay. But that person is still a prisoner of war. And in every prison, they had people like that. The, you know, the prison commandant on every prison. Sometimes they would pick out someone with certain skills and say, hey, you know, you'll get extra food and extra rations, and you'll sleep better because you're the only one that knows how to go down and steer that boat and carrying, you know, picking up more cargo to make the prison stronger and all like that. So they pick somebody like that, but don't get angry with them. It's just like slaves on a plantation. Some slaves are up there in the big house wearing some of the master's finest clothes, okay, hand-me-downs or whatever, and the other slave is out there in the field, but that's his brother working up there in the big house. And he shouldn't get mad at his brother for taking that job, because every now and then his brother does what? Brings a little of that chicken down there to him. All right? How else is he going to get it? Mm-hmm.
Yes, Dr. Fuller, my father was born probably in the late 20s, and he said back in the day, you know, a white male would refer to a black man as a boy or use the N-word. So my question to you is, why did they stop using that type of language when they speak to black men? Why did they quit calling them boys and using the N-word? Is that trying to correct something or showcasing, or what would you call that?
In the system of white supremacy, it serves their purpose. It's the fourth stage of white supremacy, refinement. If you train them, tell them how much you love them, pat them on the head, compliment them, say wonderful things to them, puff them up with all that hot air. We got plenty of it, okay? Then they will go the way that you have trained them. Oh, I'm not familiar with that. What is it called? What's that acronym? I don't even understand those words. American descendants of slaves. First of all, what is an American? And if you're talking about black people, is that what they're talking about? Does this refer to black people in any way? Instead of African descent. Well, that would include a lot of white people. But but you are not only of African descent, but you're a slave. Some white people have been slaves of other white people. Okay, so I don't know exactly what the objective of the organization is for, but I will say this: that black people are still slaves. What is slavery? See, let's just look at that word slavery and put it in a definition context that really describes what slavery really is. I've looked at it in different dictionaries, and I said, all they're talking about is a form of mistreatment. That's the key word that's throughout the entire code, mistreatment. Justice is about getting rid of mistreatment. Slavery is nothing but a form of mistreatment, which means slavery is mistreatment. So if you're being mistreated, according to the counter-racist code, you are a slave. So slavery never did go away. Black people were never freed from slavery because we're subject to a system of white supremacy, which is a form of mistreatment, and slavery is nothing but a form of mistreatment. So just call it what it is, mistreatment. You don't even have to use the word slave. But if somebody brings up the word slave, you say, am I still being mistreated? And they'll say, yes, but you're not a slave. Say, that's impossible. If I'm being mistreated, I am a slave. All right? Now, how long am I being mistreated? I ain't never stopped being mistreated. See what I mean? In the system of white supremacy, if you're black on this planet in 2019, you have been mistreated every second that you have been in the known universe, and that includes the time that you were in your mother's womb, because she was being mistreated. Go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. PRODUCE. Produce. Then the word justice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the Counter-Racist Basic Book, the 2016 edition, revised, expanded, that will cover a whole lot of things we've been talking about today. And then an additional, if you want it, an additional counter-racist word guide. How to use words, how not to use words, what to say. And more than anything, questions to ask when certain words are used by other people. To stop the conversation right there, politely stop it, and say, in order to continue the conversation, ask for permission to get an understanding of certain words when they are used, so that everybody will be on the same page in that conversation. Go to the Counter-Racist Word Guide. That's an addition to the basic textbook. And you can go to Produce Justice to get the basic volume and the additional word guide, or just the basic volume, if you prefer. But a lot of people have requested the 1984 edition for whatever reasons they requested. That's, but it's everything that's in the 1984 edition is covered for the most part, in the 2016 edition, the updated edition. But some people say they like having that third volume, the 1984 edition, for different reasons that sometimes I don't understand, sometimes I do. Sometimes they just want it, and other people say they understand it better. They understand the concept. Have you heard that? And I have said about that, well, maybe I was a better writer then. And I tend to believe in some ways maybe I was. My mind was fresher. As I get older, see, I'm getting kind of crusty now. And even on this program, I have made errors in things that I've said. Right. And so people can, hey, Neely Fuller's I'm not anybody's mentor. I'm sometimes referred to that. No, I'm not qualified to be. I'm a fellow prisoner, milling around in the prison yard, just giving my opinion of how this prison is being run and what we can probably do to get the heck out of here.
Okay. Yeah. Can you? Okay. My question is, let me see how to put this together. Are white people justified to believe in this supremacy? I hope this doesn't sound too, off, but the reason that I ask that is because, in any situation that you have, when you observe people's behavior and you, look at the outcomes, you automatically make conclusions. You draw conclusions, right? So, when we look at the history, and the behaviors and actions and the results, are they justified, in believing in this supremacy? I think. Okay.
Well, if I understand the question, white people are born in the system of white supremacy. It's like, say if I was a white person and my father and mother are running a prison system. And the prison system has prisoners of war, because it's all about war, okay? And there's a whole bunch of people milling around out there that we call prisoners of war. Now, I'm born to my mother and father who were the masters of the prison. Like, the son of the masters of a plantation. The people that, I'm the son. So, I don't know nothing else except being what I am. I got to be what I am. I was born. I didn't have anything to do with that, but I was born into a family who are slave owners. Okay? Now, I can even tell my father and mother, hey, I don't think this is right. This arrangement, this ain't right. It looks like we're mistreating people here. It looks like that's what you all have been doing, and now I'm a part of it. So that's up to a white person, and it's a painful decision for any white person. I understand that. You work with white people every day and all like that. Everybody's supposed to understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, both black people and white people. That's why I don't walk around angry at white people. They're born in a system, okay, that's already set in place. And I sometimes even talk about a white man that I met when I was in the military during the brief time we were in training. And he came to me one day and he said, I'm from Biloxi, Mississippi. And he said, so you know how that is and all like that. He said, but I'm going to tell you, Fuller, I'd rather talk to you than any of the black guys or white guys that's in this entire company. Okay? He says, because I just like talking to you. And if you were a white guy, I would like, to just hang out with you and all like that. But then he let me know. He said, but on account of the way that I was raised and the situation I'm in, and when I get out of the Army, I'm going back to Biloxi. All right? He said, so he said, if we ever get on a bus or something like that, he said, you ain't no buddy of mine. All right? And I told him, I said, now that's honest. I said, that's the kind of talk I like from a white person. I was just straight up with him. And I've been that way ever since, all right? Because, this is in the military is where I made my most contact with white people for the first time, all right?
Yeah.
So, I'm telling black and white people who are in the military right now, that's the way it should be. Black people in the military shouldn't, if a guy says, hey, I was raised up. I'm a member of that class, all right? It ain't personal, it's business. See, that's the way it is. That's the way you look at it and say, well, and so, but he would let me know. But Fuller, I'm not going to do nothing to harm you. If I do anything to harm you, I'll let you know and all like that. That That's what the deal is, and all like that. In other words, everything that I can do to help you, I will do it. But I ain't for that. I don't like that idea you might have in your mind of sleeping with my women now, with white women. Now, you let me know that, all right? And I said, hey, this is information I need to know. See, you need to know information. And for the white people who may be listening to this program, that's how I'm saying all black people and all white people should relate to each other right this minute. I'm glad the fellow brought this up. I'm very pleased he brought this up. We should just be totally honest with each other. That's the first thing, and stop all of this walking around, tipping around, lying to ourselves and lying to each other. You're going to harm somebody if you get jealous or envious. You will start saying things, that may be of some harm to somebody in an unjust manner. That's not supposed to happen. Just remember, we're here to always do the constructive thing, not the non-constructive thing. And envy and jealousy has proven to be non-constructive.
Okay. Before I let you go, caller, was that, or is there any other question that you would have for Mr. Fuller?
That's it. Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller.
Okay. Thank you so much for your call, and thank you much for the calls, callers. In the remaining moments, Mr. Fuller, as we have been discussing the obstruction of just us, not justice, but just us, and in particular the racial population tailoring confusion. Are there any other words that you would like to say? Now, that is found on page 27 and 28 of the revised, expanded edition of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. But any other words you would like to leave us as we close this particular program on May the 8th?
Well, not directly related to the subject you just mentioned, but I'd just like to say I violated the code several times, I think, in the last 2 or 3 presentations. And I would like to point that out, because I'm not exempt either. And how did I do it? I got preachy, and I don't know how long I've been doing this, but I really caught myself doing it last week, a week before last.
You started preaching, huh?
Yes, in other words, the code is not supposed to be preached. It's not even supposed to be taught. It's just supposed to be conversational. We have a conversation. Neely Fuller is not an expert on racism. There's no expert on racism except the racists themselves. So I'm just a fellow prisoner.
But people think you are an expert.
Yes, and that is a huge mistake. The only experts on racism are the white supremacists of this planet. They are the experts because they are the ones who are doing it, and everybody else who is non-white doesn't know nowhere near enough about racism.
That's a good spot to leave it there. Talk to him.